Next, board members, we're we wear multiple hats. We're also governing board over the schools for deaf and blind. We're moving to that part of our agenda. So, Superintendent and
Chair Huntsman.
Yes.
This is Board Member Earl. Can I ask for maybe a point of information or clarification?
On our agenda?
Yes, on the agenda specifically.
Yes.
There's been reference to possible amendments or changes to the resolution. I don't believe there's public knowledge as to large changes. Is there somewhere that I'm looking under the agenda and I can't find that? Did I miss that somewhere?
I think what's coming out of committee, that'd be the only place unless board members have something else they're going to add. That's not,
Okay.
I have no idea. As you know, when things come out, then there's opportunities for board members to amend, either add something or take something away from a particular motion. So I suspect it's coming from there. I don't have anything else on the agenda.
Okay, I was just seeking clarification because every speaker spoke to something implied, but I'm not seeing that. So I just wanted to make a clarification to make sure I wasn't missing something. Thank you.
I'm not aware. Thank you. Okay, Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind, Superintendent and Directors, I think we're ready to go on that. We're under item 3. This is information on our budget update. So we'll invite Finance Director Carl MP. Are you ready for your presentation?
I am. Good morning and Happy New Year, and a special welcome to all the new board members. Just as Chair Huntsman said, we report to you as our governing board our financial position on a monthly basis. We present a few reports to you. The first one is a financial report, and it's a little snapshot as to our budget and our year-to-date expenditures and how we're tracking. That is now on your screen, that is just pulled up. As you can see, just a quick overview, 77% of our funds for the year come in from the state, from state taxes that they transfer over to us on a monthly basis. About 6% of our money comes in from the feds for IDEA, Child Nutrition Program, Medicaid, and we've got a small, just over $100,000 deaf-blind grant from the feds. We got dedicated credits about 2%, and then transfers come in about 16%. So year to date, for the 5 months that ended November 30th, we've received $18.4 million. And largely, again, that's mainly from transfers from the state and also from the State Office of Education. We have spent on expenditures $15.6 million. And as you can see, the largest percent of our expenses are our personnel services for employing all the educators and staff to run the organizations. So after we look at our revenues less our expenses, we had more revenues and transfers in the amount of $2.8 million. So we're financially solvent. The number of students served, if you scroll down just a little bit lower, as of the end of November, is 1,808 students. And then down at the bottom of the page there, we've got 3 funds. We've got trust land funds that we call the Land Grant Enrichment Funds. And our balance in that is just, I'm going to round up, $1.3 million. Our donated funds, the donors have donated money to the schools for the deaf and the blind, is $267,000. And then we've got an education foundation that has received donations, and our current balance in that is $1,077,000. Now that's the little snapshot. Now the report behind that is called the Budget Status Report, and it shows all the granular details to support the transfers and the expenditures, so you can have that information. And it indicates which money is federal, which is state, dedicated credits, and so forth. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on the financial report or the budget status report. that any of you may have.
Okay, questions from board members regarding Director Impey's presentation so far? And this is all really important for us to have this transparency, because it's easy for the public to see what's happening within this school. So this will be every board meeting that we have. This will come before us to be able to ask questions as we see burn rates and other things happen here. So I'm not seeing any hands raised. Director Impey, do you want to please continue?
Yes, I'd like to just extend an offer to any of the board members that would like to meet with Superintendent Coleman or myself. We can take more time and go over this budget in more detail with you to make you more comfortable with the report, so you can understand what we're presenting on a monthly basis. But that's probably after you get settled in and as the year continues on. The next report is the Enrichment Fund project report. Or I'm sorry, let's see, let me look at it. Yes. And that the Enrichment Fund is the land grant trust monies, and we present to you on an annual basis, and usually do it in about March, April timeframe, the projects that have been discussed and are being recommended to use the land grant trust enrichment fund monies on. And we present that first to our advisory council. We have a council of volunteers that we present this information to. We have discussions with them. After they review it and give us the green light to present it to you, we've come up with this report. At the bottom, you can see that we had a total of about $1.6 million in projects that have been reviewed and approved to be spent for the year. We've spent $274,000 so far, which gives us remaining $1.3 million. Because of COVID, there's some of the projects that we've got slated for, like the international study abroad. Those aren't going to be happening because of COVID. So we don't anticipate spending all the money, but we hope to spend the majority of it before the end of the year. And then the last report is just that donated fund report of the donations to the School of the Deaf and the Blind, that just shows each of the categories in which donors have donated money. We've broken it out based on the division and where the donations were targeted for, and that totals $267,000. So that's my financial report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that may come up.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have any questions or comments on what Director Impey has shared with us? And I'm asking my vice chairs also to scroll and watch for hands being raised, but I'm trying to stay on top of that. I'm not seeing any, and I'm sure as we get more towards year-end close and some other things that there'll be questions, Director Impey, on how we finish. So thank you. We're like halfway through the year.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next is information item, and this on Salt Lake campus space issues. Superintendent Coleman, you're going to address this.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. We at the end of last year, we started having discussions with our administration at our Salt Lake campus of the Jean Massou School. And as we walked through and looked at things, we realized we're looking for ways to expand our space there a little bit for several reasons. One of those is that a lot of our students although they're still taking classes at local high schools, we're pulling them back to our campus, and they're doing much better. They're thriving better, where they had kind of a little bit been outsourced with interpreters and so forth for the deaf. And so we're serving them in a better way, but it's a good problem to have. We're running out of space, and we're teaching kids on the stage, and we're teaching them in different areas that we can find. And so I just wanted to notify the board that we're looking for some solutions to that. And our Salt Lake campus is a little bit landlocked. So we're going to be having an executive meeting a little bit later to discuss the acquisition of some real estate, and that's what that was about. So I wanted to give you a heads up on that. That's really all I think I want to say before we go into the executive meeting for the purpose of discussing real estate acquisition. And that's really all on that item right now.
Okay. Well, and it's appropriate that we do that in executive sessions. Any discussion? Board Member Lear has her hand raised.
Again, navigating a new screen today, so forgive me. Superintendent Coleman, and this is not specifically about that property discussion, but more generally, it seems like, and if this seems like a too direct kind of a comment, you can feel free to say so, but it seems like the School for the Deaf and Blind, and you know I've been a great supporter of, really appreciated getting to know the school better and the administrators, but it seems like your budget is more healthy than most education budgets, and I'm wondering why you don't use some of that money to address your needs on your Salt Lake campus.
That's a great question, and you're right. Our budget is sufficient for our needs. There have been years that we've returned money to the legislature, which shocked them, and then there's been years that we've asked for additional FTE or one-time needs, like building needs, of course. The Schools for the Deaf and Blind, and this is, I know you all probably already understand this, Board Member Lear, but for the new board members, hopefully this background will be helpful. One unique thing about us is that we do not receive any property tax money like all the other districts in the state. And so we have an additional challenge of trying to budget within legislative years and planning a year and a half ahead of time or 2 years before we actually need the money, and then executing projects after that. And so with districts that have property tax monies, they get to budget and do those things and purchase land and expand their buildings and renovate and pull in portables and other things kind of on the fly. We have sufficient for that with our carry forward each year of unspent budget money. We are allowed to budget up to 5% of our budget from the previous year for one-time costs, like a portable building here and there, or some renovations or updates, or just ongoing operations and maintenance of our campuses. When it becomes a larger ticket item that goes beyond that carry forward money each year, that's when we have to come back and say, hey, we have this need to fill, and it's always based on the exact needs of the students, which for us is pretty easy to identify, because each student at the Schools for Deaf and Blind has an IEP. And so we define exactly what professional services they need and how many teachers we need and other staff members. And so one of the other items on my superintendency report coming up today, and I think this is a perfect segue to that when we get to it, it's our annual budgeting process. I wanted to just show you a quick list of how we go through that. We disassemble the entire organization every year and zero-based budget from the ground up and put it back together with just what we need, depending on what students we anticipate are coming or going. And then what we've seen lately is a good trend, because the program has been successful. More students, well, and not just because of our program, honestly, because of the growth in certain regions also, especially the Salt Lake Valley and the southern Utah area, starting in our Springville campus. We have more students each year that are coming. And so as these needs expand, then we try to facilitate those. So back to Board Member Lear's question. I didn't mean to avoid that. I'm going to get right back to the direct question, which is, we have a healthy budget with some donated funds, and why can't we use those? And the answer is yes, we actually are deploying those as well. We actually made an offer on some land about a month ago, using the donated fund, some of the donated funds that we have, to try to secure that before the legislature could reimburse us. And the offer fell through. It was a little too rich, and we didn't want to make an offer that was not fiscally responsible. But we are certainly looking at deploying those as well. And the foundation holds the majority of those donated funds, and they're created to support our operations, and so they're doing that. Of course, we have a whole business case to look at where it's ongoing, maintenance and so forth. It's not just a one-time purchase, but in these cases, we're starting to look at those things, as well as there's some other specific goals of the foundation that was created a few years ago, originally when Deputy Superintendent Scott Jones was with us, and we're trying to manage a lot of those needs too. The foundation also provides things for kids that are not part of their education. For example, we supplied almost $20,000 of goods to them during the Christmas season, during the holidays, for some of our families that were the most needy, with things like clothing and that and so forth. So I hope that answered your question. I don't know if I did or not. But
close enough. Thank you very much, Superintendent.
Okay. Superintendent, I think we should move to the next item now, which is your superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be here with you today, and I'm excited for the new board. I'm very excited. It's always fun. I remember the first day that I was sworn in on the board, and it's just such a fire hose that you're drinking from, kind of. And so good luck to you all.
Superintendent, can I interrupt you just for a sec? We've got someone that was in a previous agenda item that missed the window on public comment. We're not going back to public comment. So I'm going to ask Kevin to submit something to the Lorraine, and then we'll get that circulated amongst the board. But it looks like he was driving or something, maybe, and trying to get.
No, I'm not driving.
All right.
I'm at work.
But we're off the agenda item. We're into USDB's business now. So I'm sorry we couldn't get you into that time window. I don't know what the technical difficulties were. So.
Phone died.
So, Superintendent Coleman, will you please continue?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. The first thing I wanted to update the board on for the schools for the deaf and the blind is our efforts with COVID. Just to give you an update, so far we had a slight increase in cases, but they were outside of the school. And so to date, since March, we've probably had about 48 or 49 people that have tested positive. We have been able to keep almost all of our classes open all the time, except once in a while, like this week, we have a class that for 3 days they've moved remotely because of people that have been quarantined. I think the new standards that have been released by the state are going to be very helpful, where if students were exposed, they don't necessarily have to be quarantined if they were exposed at the school and there was mask to mask. And so that'll be good. Most of our challenges is not with our students, though. We don't tend to have a problem with that. It's the adults that are being exposed at home or outside of school. Fortunately, we have people that have now been trained on how to do the testing, and we're getting people tested back into schools after 7 days. And so that's the good news. And we're actually training more this week so that we can do it more often and cycle people back in as soon as possible. The COVID vaccine is, we've heard that near the end of the month that school staff members would be able to get that. We have already had staff members who've received it. They've gone into the their local county health department and to sign up for an appointment. And they said, hey, as long as you're here, let's do it right now. And so it was a pleasant surprise to them that they've already started their vaccination process. Unlike some of the large districts, we are not creating a unique clinic just for USDB because our employees are spread throughout the entire state. and we have about 595 employees, almost 600 employees statewide, and so it was kind of logistically, it didn't make sense. So we're going to follow the state recommendation, which was that they just individually communicate and plan things through their local county health departments for their vaccinations. And we've been trying to communicate openly with them and keep them up to speed, because they read certain things in the news, then they come back and ask us, what's the scoop, what's going on? And so it's been a good dialogue. Speaking of communication, we are actually implementing a new communications program and platform that someone who was on state contract, and it's called Parent Square. And we'll still use email, of course, but instead of everyone throughout our organization doing their own thing, we're going to have one platform that has an interface and an app on the phone and everything. And this will allow parents, teachers, administration, all of us to have different groups, kind of like a Slack type program or something like that. But really, we're excited about it because it's very robust and it integrates directly with our student information system and our learning management system, which is Canvas for the older kids and Seesaw for the younger kids. And we're just pretty excited. So more to follow on that, but I wanted to let you know we're always looking for ways to improve our communication ability and transparency with the parents. I mentioned the foundation earlier, that we distributed nearly $20,000 in goods and supplies to those during the holidays who needed it. Another item, on Monday next week is scheduled our 1-year walkthrough for our new Springville campus. It's already been a year that's been open, and so we're going to have our architects and our facilities people and the contractors go down there and make sure that all of the items on the punch list are finished. It's a beautiful facility, and it's my hope that you'll be able to visit there sometime whenever it's convenient. If any of you want to drop by, it's right off of I-15 in Springville. And if you're traveling back and forth on the corridor, I'd be happy to meet you there if you want to take a half an hour or 15 minutes even and see it. Just let me know. We never actually had a grand opening for that facility because of COVID. We didn't want to have any gatherings, and we still haven't. And so as board members, I think it would be really neat for you to visit that. We only have 3 main campuses, and so you're welcome to come visit anytime. And I'll still be reaching out to the new board members to try to schedule a time that we can get together at one of our places so you can see it in person. Would it be okay if I shared my screen for a minute to show you the budget formulation schedule? I think this would be important for...
Sure. Jeff, are you driving that, or can he?
Okay. It looks like I'm disabled for now.
Jerry, are you able to share with Joel Coleman or give him sharing rights?
Yep, you should be able to do it now.
Thank you. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Well, there's the agenda.
Oh,
here it is. Can you see that? It says key dates for fiscal year 2022.
what I'm seeing, I can't comprehend.
Okay. I might, this might have been a mistake, but anyway, there's a list here that I'm trying to show on the screen, and essentially it's a bunch of dates starting February 1st, going through April 26th. Carl Empey, our finance director, who you already heard from, he has scheduled us out, and I asked him to put this into a list so that we could show it to the board. I can send it to you later, but it's essentially, it's just almost a weekly list on what we do each week as we formulate our budget. We start by distributing worksheets to every one of our units, every one of our divisions and schools, And then we get capital facilities requests. We have templates for them. We complete the comprehensive unit budget spreadsheets. And so we're doing all this work during the legislative session before we even know what our budget is. We're defining all of our needs in a very granular way. Then we analyze, after the legislature finishes, we analyze what legislation was passed and we determine our funding. And starting March 16th and 17th, we have meetings with each of the associate superintendents, Michelle Tanner for the deaf school and Susan Patton for the blind school. And then we all come together, and I am there, and we approve our final budget. We have it completed in about April 13th to 15th, in that range. And so that before the board's May meeting, we have a very solid budget for the next year. And I just wanted to show you that, so you know, when I describe, we take the whole organization apart, analyze every part of it, and then put it back together with exactly what our students need as determined by the legal requirements of their IEPs. This is the process that we go through to do that. And of course, we have a little bit of wiggle room in there, because between May and the following August, when school starts, more children move in, some will move out, and some of them just transfer in and out. It's not even that their families are moving. So it's always a little bit of a moving target, but over the year, over the years, we've gotten it down to the point where we can really it's almost a science, and we know exactly how much wiggle room we need so that we have just enough to serve their needs. That is the end of my superintendent's report for today, unless anybody has any questions about any of those items.
Any questions or comments from board members? I'm not seeing any hands raised. So board members, at this time, I'm seeking a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. Do I have a motion? So moved. Somebody want to shout out?
Board Member Cannon here. I will make that motion, but just in passing, will you tell us how to raise our hands today? Because I can't find that option.
Okay, well, let me just get the motion on the table.
Okay.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, board member. Okay, so I'm not seeing any hands raised for discussion for that particular motion. So prior to vote, before we get into this, besides board member Cannon, does anyone else have any problems in showing how to vote? Because on the screen down in the lower part, you can raise your hand, or you can check the yes or no on the vote. And board member Cannon, you're not seeing any of that,
Okay.
correct?
Board Member Lear just helped me out. I have to go on the bottom of my screen to the smiley face that says reactions. And then under that, there is a menu where I can raise my hand or vote. So thank you.
Okay, and this is when we go in executive session, it's a roll call vote, not a hand vote. So, but it's still good if we're having operational challenges on voting. Let's make sure that you're comfortable in knowing how to raise your hand or vote. So, but this is a roll call. So we have a motion. The motion for the board is that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. So this is a roll call. We'll start with Vice Chair Belknap.
Yes.
Member Booth. So that you have to take your mic. Board Member Booth.
Yes.
Member Cannon.
Yes.
Member Klein.
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis.
Yes.
Member Earl.
Yes.
Member Hanson. But
Yes.
he's still with us. Member Hart.
Yes.
Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Lear.
Yes.
Member Moss.
Yes.
Member Norton.
Yes.
Member Straight.
Yes.
And Member Huntsman's a yes. So we're going into executive session. So there'll be communications pop up on your screen how to navigate that. So it says the host is inviting you to join a breakout room that's specific to this group. So you'll hit join. Making a motion, come out of executive session.
Could we
Okay.
make sure we're just back online before we do anything?
Well,
There's
I'm-
a
14 here.
back streaming. Jerry, are we?
Yes, we are streaming.
Thank you.
Well, let's inventory our people as we vote here. So Vice Chair Davis, are you making a motion to come out of executive session?
Yes, I move that we come out of executive session.
Do we have a second?
Second, Board Member Cannon.
Thank you. Hey, all in favor of coming out of executive session, please vote. And that's Vice Chair Belknap, you're inventorying these checks also with me, I believe.
Yes, I am. We're missing Board Member Hart, Board Member Lear, Board Member Hymas, and Board Member Straight has put up a hand, not a check mark.
I'm sorry, did you say that I am missing?
No,
Well,
Board Member Straight, you're not. You just put up a hand.
and so we vote, as we're voting to come out of something you either want to or you don't. And so a green check is what we're looking for, but not everyone can use a check depending on their system.
Yeah, the check is not available to me.
Right,
That's
so
why-
keep your hand up.
Keep your hand up.
Okay,
Got it.
I did it. Very good.
We need people not to take their hands down, Chair. I mean their check mark.
Okay.
Yeah, leave your checks up till we get everyone in. So we,
It's funny, they disappear. Mine disappears after about 5 seconds.
okay, well, I've
There we go.
recognized it. Board Member Hart, are you?
I have a
yes?
checkup. I have a checkup. Oh, wait, my check just disappeared.
As I said,
I know. I'll do it again. This is the third time I've checked yes.
the mystery.
Okay, I'm watching.
It's there.
And,
It's not.
well, the water's not making to the end of the roll. We're not saying it.
Well,
But I'll accept
Okay.
it as an
I'm
aye.
raising my hand and I'm hitting check. Yes.
But I got a yes from you, which is good enough.
Yes.
Remember Hymas and not seeing your,
Yep, there it is again.
Yep. I see Hymas.
yep, there it
Yeah.
is. Got it. And Board Member Cannon,
Yeah, I've put mine up twice, but it disappears.
okay, well,
Jerry?
okay, but you want to come out of executive session?
Yes.
Yes. Is that an aye, Board Member Cannon? I'm trying to get us out of this. We'll go to our break.
I would say it's unanimous, either verbal or by check mark or hand raised, Chair.
Hey, the voting is unanimous. We're coming out of executive session. Moving on to our agenda. We don't have any motions coming out of. Okay, at this time, you guys can take your checks and hands down. It is we're going to take a 10-minute break here. Let's be up and going at, let's try to make it 8, but let's see if we can get everyone back. Well, let's just do 10 at 11:32.